Okay, good evening and welcome to the Bedminster Township Committee. This is our regularly scheduled Township Committee meeting for November 15th. I'll recognize that we have a full complement of Bedminster Township Committee in attendance. Ms. Ray, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Sure. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News Somerville, Burnsville News Whippany, and to all subscribers, and posted at the Township Municipal Building on January 7th, 2021.
Okay, great. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just as we've been doing for, I guess, over a year and a half at this point, going through the COVID numbers for Bedminster Township. As of today on the COVID dashboard for Somerset County, we in Bedminster have a total of 524 confirmed cases of COVID, and that's from the very beginning when the state started counting and recording positive cases, and we remain at 5 fatalities. So the 524 number for November 15th is up 5 from November 1st. So I think I reported on this last time is that at one point we were seeing multiple cases coming in a day. We have not seen that recently. So the +5 from our last meeting follows on November 1. I reported that we were +4 from October 18th. So we still seem to be in a trend of low increases, certainly a low acceleration rate of increases, which, we'll ascribe to the vaccinations, which is the next number. So once again, these are based on numbers off the state website. This is the vaccination rate in Bedminster, and these are percentages of population. For all ages in Bedminster, the percentage with at least one dose is 79%. For ages 12 to 17, it's 80%. 12 and over, 89%. 18 and over, 89%. 30 and over, 89%. 65 and over, 113%. And once again, the state gives some explanations as why you may see numbers over 100%. The explanations that the state gives, I don't necessarily agree with or think that they are applicable to Bedminster's situation, but comparing us to a lot of other towns, these numbers are very good. For the percentage of population with the full regimen, and this still remains at the 1 J&J, the 2 Pfizer, the 2 Moderna, all ages, 72%, 12 to 17, 73%, 12 and over, 81%, 18 and over, 81%, 30 and over, 82%, and 65 and over, 102%. So for the full regimen, still very good numbers. These are roughly up about 1% from our last report on November 1st. And we continue, both on a township basis and certainly individually, to push and promote vaccines. This weekend at the Farmers Market, we hosted the Somerset County Department of Health, which administered first, second, and third shots for J&J, Pfizer, and Moderna. And they also administered booster shots. And they got there, we were there 10 to 1, and they were busy and had a line throughout the entire day. So at the end of the day, they had 69 administrations of vaccines.
Great.
So 69 folks got vaccines. We did speak to them. I certainly spoke with them at the end as they were leaving. And by and large, those were all booster shots. So it may be just indicative that the folks who are getting boosters certainly are the folks who are already predisposed to getting vaccines in the first place. They said they did not have very many first doses or second doses. So the folks who were fully dosed definitely want their boosters. And I was there. I got my booster. So, the Township Committee, no problem getting boosters. Someone else wants to.
I got my
you got
booster.
one too. Imagine that. Okay. So you got your booster. So certainly, we're doing our part to push it out there. The county asked us if they could come back or there was any other opportunity, because certainly they were impressed with the turnout that they got. And if you remember, we did the drive-through flu clinic, that was back in October. Pretty good turnout for that as well. And they also did COVID shots that time. I think since then, there's been a further opening of the booster shots, so that may explain why more folks were getting their boosters this last weekend than in October. But certainly the county they were thrilled. This was one of their better turnouts at an event, and they definitely wanted to come back, so maybe that's something we can look at for farmers market maybe in December. Before we get to public comments, the only other thing I wanted to reflect upon is that November 2nd was Election Day. And so first, congratulations to Renee Boreski for winning her election. And my running mate, thank you. But it was interesting, just one comment that I want to make, reflecting back on the election and the campaign, is it's really the process itself. We can have access to the voter list and walking around door to door, and one of the comments, observations that I certainly made is that you would see multiple names at addresses, right? So you might see the same last name, or I'm sorry, you might see 3 different last names at one address. And then going and talking to residents, talking to them about their experience with the voting process, mail-in ballots, or early voting. And something that I heard this year, and I heard from the year before, and I am certainly curious to hear from Robin about this as the town clerk. Multiple ballots being mailed to the same address. And people I've talked to, like, oh, we're throwing it away. I remember last year there was a resident who moved to Bedminster and had moved to Bedminster from Watchung 3 years ago and had already voted in Bedminster twice. Last year, she received a mail-in ballot sent to her in Bedminster for the Bedminster elections. So that was the presidential and then all the way down through Township Committee. She also received a mail-in ballot addressed to her in Bedminster for Watchung. So she received a mail-in ballot for Bedminster and a mail-in ballot for Watchung. I directed her to talk to Robin. Robin directed her to talk to the county, and the Board of Elections said, yeah, just rip it up, it's fine. And I remember talking to the woman again and saying, well, did they ask you to do anything? She said, no. She said, I asked them, do you want me to mail it to you? Do you want me to rip it up in front of you? They're like, no, it's fine, it's all good. Now, when you look at the material that comes in, right? So you've got residents going, registering to vote, they move within town, they leave the state. There are certain mechanisms that are supposed to be put in place. Driver's licenses, for example, are supposed to corroborate and change or reflect movement to take people off the voter list. Now, certainly DMV had its issues the last, year and a half with COVID, so that might explain some of this. But it's obvious that there's poor maintenance of the voter roll. And I'm not sure if this is through the county, if that's the county clerk's job or the Board of Election. But I'm reminded of, something that we all learned in computer science in 8th grade: garbage in, garbage out. And so that these voter lists, these voter rolls are not being updated, they're not being maintained. There's bad information on there. There was, I know this from talking to someone who was at the polls on election day, that there was a couple that moved to PPAC just recently, within last year, and they, in PPAC, received the sample ballot for Bedminster. So they showed up to vote in Bedminster. They got there and were told, because they mentioned that we moved to PPAC, but they were ready to vote. And had they not raised that issue, that they had moved to PPAC, they would have been voting here. Now, I don't know, what this has nothing to do with partisan politics, but I'm just raising this as an example of the process isn't right. Another example, and this is actually, I think, mandated by state legislation, is that the mail-in ballots. So our kids who are in college received their mail-in ballots, I think it was September 19th. I think that's when they received their ballots. Well, by September 19th, not much is really going on with the campaign. So getting ballots that early, what does that promote? Well, you can fill it in right then and there, or you could wait. And if you let a campaign develop, you'll get to, certainly at the state level, or maybe if it's Senate or other levels, you might get debates. You may get campaigns being tested by the newspapers, by their opposition. You may get newspapers issuing endorsements. Well, if there's anything meaningful to those activities, sending the mail-in ballots by September 19th, well, what's that encouraging? And the only thing I can believe that it's encouraging, and perhaps this was meant to, would encourage party line voting right off the bat. So if you're going to vote on September 19th before issues have been vetted, okay, and you want to do it, what are you going to do? Well, it's either going to be, I know this person, so I'm voting for him. I know this person, I'm not voting for her. Or I'm just going to vote party line. And to some extent, I know this was legislation, I think that came out with, John, do you remember, was that 2 years ago? Was that Senator Coughlin?
Yeah, I do not, I don't.
Or Assemblyman Coughlin?
I don't follow that
Yeah.
at all. But I get your point.
Yeah, we've lived with mail-in ballots as a consequence of COVID. It's an opportunity, right, to get balloting out there. But once again, if the voter lists are not being maintained and we're sending it out too early, to some extent, there's a little bit of a disservice for the electorate. And I just raised this. These are just my personal observations. Not sure if anyone else has similar experiences, but just throwing it out there. Robin, I'm not sure as clerk if you have any observations from Election Day that are consistent or different from what I just laid.
Sure. We actually, there was a lot of voter confusion on our end. We had voters who received an opt-out letter in the beginning of August to opt out of mail-in ballot voting, and they just tossed that in the mail. So they came here to vote in person. Now the COVID's over, and they couldn't vote because they had to vote provisional. I mean, that was the way they had to do it, so their votes counted later. They wanted to vote on the machines. That was very important to them. So they missed that opportunity. There were several people that were very irate about that, but we worked out, the issues for them. There was a little bit of frustration, like you said, with people checking records. one woman wanted to check her family records and found that she had family members that actually lived in California, a son and a daughter that moved to California. They're in their 30s, but they have sample ballots came home and they're still on our record. So there's a lot of that.
So when the folks who had received opt-out letters or were asked to vote, I assume at that point they're voting provisionally.
Correct.
I remember this was from, I don't know if I heard this about this year, but certainly last year, I heard folks were like being told to vote provisionally, and they just said, yeah, no thanks, and walked out. Did you have that experience this year?
We had a couple of people that were upset that they had to vote provisionally.
Okay.
And we had a lot more provisional ballots this year. I think I reported out at the last meeting how many provisional
Right.
ballots we have. It was a much higher number than in previous years. I usually just do a straw poll count at the end of the night just to see how many we have from all the different districts. And we had over 125, which we usually have, if we break the seal, we usually have like at a max 15, 20. That's a lot.
So one of the little fun with mathematics that Colin and I were discussing last week was looking back at the prior elections just to see, what percentage of Bedminster voters are we really getting at? And off the county data, and I had the data written down last week, and I thought I brought it with me, but I didn't, and maybe Colin still does. For 2020, the voter list for Bedminster was about 7,400. 2021, the voter list was about 7,600. We're a town between around 8,400. We've got about 1,000 kids, assuming that we'll have consistently have 60 kids per year in our town. Or that's not even including private schools, so it could be higher than that. That would mean that more than 100% of every eligible voter was registered. I don't believe that's the case, because we also know that we do have a bit of an itinerant population, folks who move into the hills and move out. They're here for a couple months. They're not registered. A lot of them are not registering to vote. So that tells you that, look, just in my own opinion, that there's some cleanup that needs to be done of the voter list. And once again, I believe that sits with the county clerk. And this, not asking out of naivety, is it the county clerk or is it?
Board of Elections.
It's the Board of Elections. So they're responsible for running that cleanup?
Register with the county clerk, but it's the Board of Elections.
You register with the county clerk, but the county clerk doesn't take someone off. That goes back to the Board of Elections?
Right.
Okay.
We do a decedent death report at the end of the year to take off anybody who's passed, and it all goes to the Board of Elections.
Yeah. So, you just look at the numbers and you see that the process could be streamlined, the process could be simplified, and, fix the mail-in ballot situation. There were 3 opportunities to vote: mail-in ballot, well, actually 4 if you count provisional, so mail-in ballot, early voting, and as someone had pointed out, if you have the opportunity for early voting, why do you still need mail-in ballot? Because you've now opened up an opportunity for folks who may not be available on election day, in person, and then in person provisionally.
And the Dropbox.
And you're right, and the Dropbox. So there's a whole lot of opportunities out there, but to maintain the electoral process, let those campaigns develop, let the issues develop, it just seems that we need some cleanup. So.
Well, I agree with you, Mayor. I think the process should be streamlined a little bit with technological advances. It doesn't seem necessary to have some of the things that we have in place. And also, I agree with you. I know multiple people who get ballots in their maiden name at their parents' house and ballots at their home in their married name. I mean, that happens, so.
Yep, so whatever we can do to clean it up, let's see. I do see that, this was last week, the Burnsville News ran an editorial, not on this particular issue, but really on the delay and lag in reporting. To some extent they're tied because you're getting 3-4 different sources of information and you've got to coordinate everything. It creates a lag. There you go. All right, so those are my mayor's comments. We will open the mic up for public comments. If you are here in person and wish to make a public comment, come on up. Now's your opportunity. You don't have to. Some of you have been here before.
You do have somebody online, but they don't have their hand raised, just so you
You
know.
guys have to
And if
you have to be
anyone
by the
is
microphone,
online,
because they have to record
Yes.
your voice.
and if
yeah.
anyone is online and has a public comment to make, take your cursor, scroll down to the bottom of the screen where it says participants. You'll be prompted to click raise hand, and if you click raise hand, Ms. Ray will put you into queue. But we've got people live and in person. So
Yay.
before you give your public comment, you need your name and address.
Hi, I'm Lori Anderson. I'm at 41 Riverwood Avenue here in Bedminster.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Svetlana Panasik, 56 Startle Avenue, Bedminster.
Good evening.
Hi, we're actually here together. We've got another member of the neighborhood of the old section of Bedminster Village. We're here actually due to an increase in attempt of successful break-ins and burglaries over the past year in our neighborhood. I know that there are 7 of them in the hills that have been reported within 2 weeks of each other. We're actually here in regards to the cameras that were removed that were in the area because just the other day something has happened again, and it appears that the neighborhood seems to be targeted, and I'm not certain as to why or how that's come about, but we're concerned that it seems to be increasing. I'm going to let Svetlana speak from there because her house was actually one of them that was broken into, and she has made a whole list of things she'd really like to go over.
Okay, Svetlana.
Hi, everyone. So on January 22nd of this year, my house was burglarized. So this past Friday, I just learned from my neighbor that his car was almost stolen. And we see the cameras, we see what happens, we see young kids. But my issue is that when I call detective and police and I ask them after the burglary, do you keep me safe? What do you do? He is like, no worry, we have the ways to keep you safe. Then I learned from my neighbors that they put cameras on the street. When detective came to look into footage of my camera after my neighbor's car was attempted to be stolen, he tells me that cameras were removed. And the other issue is here that when the connection between the construction work on the street when my house was were burglarized, and now it's that we have this condominium section and we're in the middle of construction. And I just want to know why the cameras were removed and why we're not safe here.
Okay, we have Chief Rock.
Good evening. As for the cameras being removed, the township has limited assets, and they were placed in that area after the event back in January, and they were moved for different reasons within the police department for other investigations. We don't have a camera for every street available, and I'm sorry for that. What was the other question?
So since police is connecting, you're connecting that increase in burglaries and stolen cars is always around the construction site. We are next to the big construction site.
I don't have any factual data to tie one to the other. I can tell you that most high-end vehicles that are left unlocked and people leave their keys in them, they will get stolen in Bedminster, Bernardsville, Bernards Township, and throughout the state of New Jersey. So I don't think there's any correlation between a construction site and the incident from the other evening where you had a high-end motor vehicle that was left unlocked. Nothing, my understanding is nothing was stolen from the car because they were looking for the key fob within the car so they could take the vehicle itself.
Svetlana, did someone from the police say that there was a correlation between construction?
Yes.
Okay. Chief, is that something that,
Sure, my phone number, I'm at my desk. I mean, feel free to give me a call anytime you have concerns. I know my detectives were out. They came to your residence to look at your video camera after the incident on the 11th in the morning. And, you know, we could talk about it, but I don't know anybody that can draw, you know, the direct correlation between a construction site and the fact that, you know, somebody came up in your neighborhood just on a whim, located a very valuable vehicle, found that the vehicle was not locked, and tried to steal the car.
Okay, so my house was locked, and there was a house a mile away in January of 2021. The houses were locked. We had 5 burglarized houses in the area. Do we have any information? Did you solve the problem? Am I safe? Am my kid safe? My 13-year-old boy is safe to be home by himself?
Ma'am, the police department deals with the resources we have. I'm not going to sit here tonight and say, yes, we're watching over your residence, your property and everything. But in general terms, if you look at the averages of occurrences within Bedminster Township, which is 27 square miles, and the amount of residents we have, I would say like almost 4,000, the occurrence of the daytime residential burglaries, they're not occurring that frequency. We had 2 in January. Unfortunately, your residence was one of them. And then we had on almost on the other side of town, somebody else was a victim. It does bother the police department, but without any physical evidence or leads, it's still an open case, but we have not been able to find the perpetrators.
Okay, so you're basically telling me that there's no way those cameras can be brought, we can have a police presence more often in our area?
My officers do what they can do with the amount of workload as well as roving patrol and, you know, checking on different areas within the town. We have service calls in your neighborhood if, you know, we're in the vicinity. So as to, for me to sit here and say, you know, every night at 8 o'clock, we're going to drive on Tuttle Avenue, or every, you know, night at 1 o'clock, I cannot promise you that.
but you know, in the past, I do know that, Chief, the Bedminster PD has been successful in finding folks who were scoping out cars, and there were arrests made in the past. So, I mean, those patrols that we do employ have been successful. That there's been, certainly, I remember this was, I forget what streets, but I know that there was pursuit given.
Deer Haven was one of them.
Deer Haven was one of them? Yeah, so, you know, those patrols do work. We don't have cameras on every street. I'm not certain that we should promote. Chief, how long are the cameras typically out?
I'm sure in January, I mean, I'd have to check with my detectives who deploy them, and they're the ones that develop information and will relocate them for a different area. And, you know, so I don't know, but they're usually up minimally 2 weeks, give or take, unless we need them somewhere else. And it could be longer in some instances. But I mean, it's not like it's a high, you know, per se high crime area where we're expected the actors to come back. So we had no, you know, from January till as we sit here in November, there's no way those 2 assets that the township owns could have stayed in that development.
Chief
And the
Rocket,
other thing that helps us help you is the Ring cameras. And we had footage the other night, you know, automatic light sensors. You know, if your camera goes off at night, that could be time to call the police, and we can, you know, assemble our resources and head to the area. But, you know, we'd rather absolutely be more proactive than reactive, but, you know, it's just luck of the draw.
All right, if you will, I think more the concern is there anything that can be done, maybe just while this construction is there, to put some of the residents' mind at ease? I know that my car, I didn't report it, nothing was stolen. My car, my neighbor's car, the handicapped neighbor next door, all of our cars were rummaged through within the summer. I came out, I found stuff everywhere. I assumed it was my husband or my children. When asking all of them, they were like, no. But we didn't report anything. There was nothing of value in it. We just started locking our cars. But I think the main concern is whether the construction is tied or not tied. Is there anything that can be done? Not a 1 o'clock patrol, not an 8 o'clock patrol, but a little more presence of just kind of giving a drive-through, of kind of keeping heads up as these things are happening until they're complete.
I will pass that on to my road officers, and as time allows, we will travel through the neighborhood. I will also request that if, regardless if you lost anything or not, and you found somebody entered your personal space, we cannot help you unless we know about it. So we don't know if there's a pattern. If 3 cars were entered and nobody calls us because everybody thinks nothing was missing, we don't have any record of the event even occurring.
Understood.
And I'll say, that happened on our street, on Hillside. So but this was about 6 years, maybe not, maybe about 5 years ago. I remember talking to Chief Meyer, and I went out, and there was one of our vehicles that someone had just been rifling through it. I know Chief Meyer sent someone up to look at the ring cameras and security cameras that might be up and down Hillside. We don't know if it was local. Was it someone just 3 o'clock in the morning, just checking outdoors? Once again, there was nothing taken from the vehicle. Maybe they're just looking for keys or key fobs. Based upon what I've heard and talked to the chief about, I tell everyone in my family, lock the car.
Right.
Lock the car overnight. It doesn't matter whether it's an old junker, if there's an open door, that gives an opportunity for something to happen. We had heard stories both in some of the surrounding towns where cars were stolen from properties with quarter mile driveways. So we live 78 and 287, and the car thieves come in off the highway. They go into an area, look for doors that are open on cars, and if the key fob is there, they take them. Chief has talked about it extensively. I think all of us up here have talked about it as well, the need to lock your doors. It's, I don't want to say it's everywhere, but we're certainly not immune to it here in Bedminster.
I wanted to say something. So it's certainly scary to have your house broken into, your car broken into. You could have your garage door opener in your car. Somebody could get in your house. Just knowing that with your children home is certainly scary. So I validate 100% what you're saying. But I'm on social media on a bunch of groups, Basking Ridge Moms group, I'm on the Bubble, and it's not exclusive to Bedminster. I mean, there has been an uptick in car burglaries, people waiting down the street. Well, you'll read all these stories, right? And they're right there in the community groups. And part of it has to do with our, proximity to 287 and 78. You can steal a car, get right on the highway. And then, this area tends to be targeted often, right? So I think that just raising awareness, just when I read that on one of the social media sites, I automatically remind everybody, don't forget to lock your car doors, don't forget to lock your car doors, So it's just really important. Maybe we can put a blast out anytime something like this happens on the police Facebook page or on a community page or through our new communication system, so that people are aware. This is happening right here, right in our neighborhood. Lock your doors. Be careful. Be aware. Be aware of what's going on. Be aware if there's, random things you're seeing, and just kind of raising awareness to everybody. I think that's important, as opposed to it, people not knowing, like your car got rummaged through. Like let everybody know, so.
And Chief, do we still have the alarm registration? where alarms are, with there's an alarm that,
Residential?
yeah.
Yes, sir.
So that's still active? That's still an active program?
Correct.
Okay. So if you have, well, Chief, can you just describe how it works? I don't want to.
Sure. I mean, if you have a residential alarm, by all means, anytime you leave your home, you want to make sure it's activated. And then, you're registered through the police department, and Dwayne Kavanaugh is the administrator of that program. And we also have an emergency contact, and that's huge for us. Even if your house, we respond there and it's undisturbed, and we might need a key holder to come out for some reason, at least we have something to work with, because this day and age, most cell phone numbers we don't have unless we've had prior contact with a resident. So it helps us any way that a resident can assist us by securing their own property, making sure your doors are locked, making sure your car is locked. If you leave valuables in your car, put them out of sight, because that's when you'll get your windows smashed. So, I mean, it's twofold, and it's, that's just what's going on in the world today. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that on mid-October, we lost a vehicle with the keys in it off a larger cross road. So it's not prone to the village neighborhood of, Bedminster. It's not prone to Bedminster. This is occurring in Warren Township, every surrounding town, and almost every place in the state of New Jersey where there's high-end motor vehicles, that they're coming out, finding the keys, and they're stealing the cars. And then if the police do get behind the car, they try to engage us in a pursuit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
I'm sorry
comments.
that happened to you. It's awful.
Thank you.
And Svetlana,
And
we,
Mayor, if I could just follow that up, that at
Say-
any time, if there's a concern, I know my detectives were out and spoke to the resident. If there was a concern about the cameras, please ask. We're always available. So if the camera is not doing anything, we'll go put it back up. We have nothing to lose by having extra eyes within a certain area.
thank you for your comments. And Robin, I assume that no one else from Zoom? Okay. Approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes to approve, the November 1st, 2021 Township Committee meeting comments. You can stay if you want. Do we have any comments to the minutes? And if not, may we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, the next is straw vote for 2022 mayor. I will hand this over to Administrator Ray.
Okay. So in order for the future mayor to reach out to volunteers for possible appointments in 2022 to our committees and commissions, it's beneficial to know in advance who our future mayor will be. So therefore, we are doing a straw vote this evening by the members of the 2022 Township Committee, which we usually do the first meeting following a general election in November. So that being said, I'd like to see if there's any nominations for mayor for 2022.
I'd proudly like to nominate Lawrence Jacobs.
You can say Larry.
I'll give a second on that.
Okay, thank you, Committeeman Hickey. So we're going to go ahead and do a roll call vote, please. So it's going to be Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Hickey,
Enthusiastically, aye.
Ms. Moreski,
Absolutely, aye.
Ms. Fernandez,
Aye.
and Mayor Jacobs.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your vote of confidence. Okay, so we will have to move forward on appointments, and I'll be reaching out to everyone up here on the dais for ideas and recommendations. And let's move on. Permits and raffles. We have one raffle, which is an off-premise 50/50 raffle to benefit the Bedminster Township School PTO on April 1, 2022 at 8 p.m., 900 Lamington Road, Bedminster. Any questions or comments regarding the raffle, the off-premise raffle for which I presume is going to be Spring Fling?
No question.
Okay, may we have motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, monthly report discussions by subcommittee chair, Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Don't really have any updates. I was just brought up to speed on a meeting between Kevin Murray and some of the folks over on Robertson about the lights. That issue is being addressed. They're going to be speaking with the electrical inspector to see the permanent fix over there, but there's a temporary fix, but they do, like I say, got a pathway forward for a permanent fix. So that's a good thing, but got our sewer advisory meeting percolating. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's some other point in time, and we'll have more updates next meeting.
Okay, great. Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, all. Mayor, I assume you're going to cover library and land use. Board of Education is on Thursday. And from Board of Health, just a reminder, the docket application is available for download, DOCKET. You can get your vaccination status. It can serve as your vaccine passport. It's easy to download. It's on Android as well as Apple. It takes about 2 seconds to set up, and then you can have it right on your cell phone as a way in case you forget to carry your vaccine card. So Board of Health was encouraging everybody to download the app, and it works pretty easily. So check it out. It's docket. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Committeewoman Mareski.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. The EC last met on November 3rd. They're still working on a plan to get the back boxes put up in the stall area. They had a plan that didn't quite work with the Boy Scouts, so they have to come up with another one. Apparently there's something about the height that the Boy Scouts can go up to, and the back boxes need to be higher than that. So to keep everybody safe, they're going to figure out something else. And at their next meeting, they plan on doing some brainstorming to see what other kind of projects they can do to maintain and upgrade the stall area. And I have a congratulations going out to Laura Holbrow, who will be our appointed tonight as our newest member of the EC. I will swear her in at our next meeting. Laura is currently a resident of Cortland neighborhood and was recommended to us by Jeff Leonard, who's the president of Hills Village North Master Association.
I understand that Lori, was it Laura?
Laura?
Laura has extensive environmental experience.
She does. She's going to be an amazing addition to it. So that will be great. Just real quick, Doug and I will be meeting with Kathy House from the Duke Farm Community Gardens, along with Bedminster resident Mary Wojcik, to take a look at the Duke Farms. And then Doug and I will be putting together a meeting with the two of us, with REC, EC, and DPW, to get a starting point on the cost of the garden. And
Okay,
then
so-
we'll work with our
And that
group
includes,
after that.
does that include numbers from Paul Ferrero on that, or is that a different?
That's what
meeting?
we were starting, and we'll get
Okay.
Paul about after that. JVH's meeting is next Wednesday, and that's all I got for you.
Okay, so between now and our next meeting, are we going to have a meeting before the JVH Christmas tree lighting? I don't think so, right?
Believe
That's
so.
December 4th.
No, it's December, yes, that Saturday.
Right, so we don't have another TC meeting, so,
Colonial Christmas, the tree lighting is the 4th, right?
so, yes,
The
so
4th.
why don't you give a little shout out for the tree lighting?
The tree lighting is on December 4th. There you go. From 5 to 7 over at JVH, and I think I did this last time, but there's some things I'll be doing over there. Hot chocolate, cookies, I think. Reenactors we're going to have, and some carolers are supposedly going to be on board.
Will the, will the house
And the
be
mayor
open?
will be giving a little speech.
Will the house be open?
Probably for small groups.
Okay. Okay. And I know that the JVH is, some of their members are coming to the farmer's market this weekend to help promote. And so we'll be promoting, and actually we were promoting it this weekend at the farmer's market as well.
There'll be flyers at the farmer's market.
So we're going to, try to push out to get some good attendance out there, especially after, after COVID, and getting this thing moving again. So that'd be great. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Committeewoman Fernandez.
No, I don't have too much to comment. I don't know if you guys, I wasn't here last week, but if you were able to discuss the trunk or treat, it had a huge
Yes.
turnout this year. So that was great. Last year I was there and we started the trunk or treat because of COVID, and we decided to continue it this year because the school was not doing the trunk or treat. And I would say probably almost 300 or 400 kids, because I had a lot of candy and I was out. I ran out. So that was unexpected. And the tree lighting I have promoted on the Bedminster Parents site, and hopefully it goes to the school because it looks like there's a lot of fun activities. Photos of Santa and the reading of The Night Before Christmas. So that'll be fun. Otherwise, I have no further updates for you, just some HR things, but we'll talk about those in executive session.
Okay. So let me start with Land Use Board. So last week we had the start of the Bedminster 1 application. That was the hearing for, that's the mixed use at the corner of Burnt Mills Road and 206. So we've got through a fair amount of testimony from their experts, and that will continue on to December 2nd, Thursday, December 2nd. So that will continue for anyone who's interested. You can certainly participate at the Land Use Board, both in person or just like this meeting, hybrid through Zoom. The library, a couple things at the library. So a new children's librarian was hired, or at least the offer was approved by the Board of Trustees. So presuming that the offer, which had already been discussed, had been accepted, there's a new children's librarian that I've had all the information in my bag, and then I threw away those papers. So I don't have the name with me or the qualifications, but the new librarian that's hired seems very enthusiastic, and I know there's a lot of programming and activities that are planned, and we're certainly, the entire library board is excited for this new hire. Some big shoes to fill with Ms. Peterson's moving on. But we're definitely very excited to get that program up and running with some vibrancy. Also, the library is taking a slow approach, but the reopening of in-person meetings, in-person programming is happening at the library, and certainly I think from the Board of Trustees, we're pushing to get this reopening done quickly and to do it in a sensible manner. You know, don't bring 90 people into one room at one time, but see how it works, see what the attendance is going to be, right? Do folks want to attend in person, and if there's opportunities to maintain hybrid participation, then by all means, let's continue to do that at the library. Anything else I'm missing from the library meeting?
No, you hit it.
Okay. Ms. Ray, Administrator's
Sure.
Report.
I'm going to keep this brief. Just with regard to engineering and DPW, Rodney, you can fill me in if I miss out on anything here. We had the Black River Road pre-construction meeting on November 11th last week. Work is scheduled to begin in early December. They're going to work on two parts. It's going to be two-phase. First part is to fix the drains, inlets, replace the culvert, and repair or replace some of the guide rails. And then the project will cease for the winter and then pick back up again in April for the milling and paving. Anything else?
That pretty much covers it.
Okay, good. Human Resources, Amanda and I are continuing to work on the Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual. It's a very large task. It's required by the Municipal Joint Insurance Fund, so we're doing a thorough job. IT, also HR, we have, we're accepting applications for a violations clerk, so we have 7 applications to date, which will be setting up interviews for next week. The IT department, the servers for the police body-worn cameras have been received, so the next step is install. Let's see, miscellaneous, Mayor, I think you already touched upon this about the farmers market clinic where they issued 69 vaccinations this weekend, which was great. And then we are just continuing to push our Bedminster alert. We've been using it more and more each week, sending information out like we did for the flu clinic. for the COVID-19 clinic at the farmer's market. And so far, we are now up to 142 residents.
That's good, good.
69 to 142, so that's pretty good. And that's all I have. That
Okay.
concludes my report.
Okay, we have no ordinances scheduled for public hearing, no introduction, and no public hearings of ordinances. Consent agenda, we have 5 items on the consent agenda. So unless there's a motion from any committee member to pull one of the resos off, and it doesn't look like we have such a motion, so may we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved?
Second.
That's to be a roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
We have one resolution that is not on the consent agenda, and this is resolution number 2021-147. This resolution supports the New Jersey Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association application to conduct a one-day steeplechase race meeting on property partially located in Bedminster Township on October 15th, 2022. So every year, we get a letter from the New Jersey Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association giving us notice that a race will be scheduled in Bedminster, and we have the option to object, or if we take no action, it's presumed that we are good with it, or we can take the affirmative step in saying we support the application. So this resolution essentially says, thank you for giving us notice, and we have no objection to the event proceeding. Anything else?
This is the
Anything
first
else?
year they've asked for a resolution, that's all.
Yeah.
I looked at it, looks good.
Okay. So any questions or comments? Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve resolution number 2021-147?
So moved?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, and may we have a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, any items for new business? No, let's move on to old business. We've covered COVID-19 already. DOT improvements, still waiting on DOT to get back to us on Hills Drive. Utilities, and let's break utilities up. And Doug, you want any update on discussions with PSE&G?
That, I'm sorry, I thought you
Okay.
were moving to Pluckham Park. PSE&G, final call, Gina put final call out for applications or for submissions of interest, we'll call it.
Yeah, applications, I guess.
And we'll be submitting those to PSE&G
Tomorrow.
in the near future.
What's your, so just for the two of you, what are you getting interest?
Not a lot of interest from Ski Hill.
I think
No.
people are, misunderstood and feel like the application is
A
a
commitment.
commitment of some sort, but it's not. It's just to see how much the cost is going to be. So,
So and I think this is where the whole process went awry last time,
It
which
does.
is, it's not a commitment, it's gauging the interest
Right,
itself.
and the more interest, the more likely you're going to be a less financial burden. So it was a free look, and look, I mean, if people got turned off from the presentation that PSE&G gave, or if they just got cold feet from it,
Right.
I don't know, but
we
the
have probably how many people you think on that meeting? There was a good amount of people.
20 to 30.
20 to 30 people for that.
Right, out of a total of
informational.
90 between those
Yeah.
two streets, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were cautiously optimistic at the meeting, and now seeing the returns it's
How many?
now
I-
that's Ski Hill. I understand from Stonehouse there's quite a number of folks,
There's
so
like
there
11
could be
from
something
Old
there.
Stonehouse and
Yeah.
Deer Haven 15. So
Well, that's,
yeah, that's. I mean, we did pretty good on.
It's just my street, It's-
Yeah.
what do you want
No,
from
but
me?
you
What
do.
do you want
Have,
from
you
me?
have certain people on your street that have submitted the applications.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna
But they did it
ping
online.
people individually to say, "Are you
Yeah.
sure you're out here?" So
Yeah.
That's why I say in the near future, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but this, I'm going to send this packet over tomorrow.
Well, that's certainly good news
see what
for-
they say, you know.
That's certainly good news for, Stonehouse and for,
And once we find out the
Yeah.
cost, that might change it or not.
Right.
Sway people either way, right? Oh, well, they did it over there and it's this much, so maybe ours won't be that much, you know.
Right, right.
all right.
First step in the process.
No, good job, taking it as far as we have, so let's keep pushing it,
Absolutely.
okay? So we covered PSE&G, so now let's switch over to Colin.
I can give a quick update on Altice and JAW. Altice, as I mentioned last time, Altice is moving the fiber to the home program from their government affairs group to their construction and implementation team. They are still trying to figure out exactly who's in charge over there. I've been in touch with Marilyn Davis as recently as today. So when we get a name, we'll start working with them so we can get things restarted. I know I've received a lot of inquiries from folks in the hills on the HOAs saying what's going on, we're ready to get started, but we need somebody to come out, do a field survey, figure out where things are going to be torn up and dug up. Once we get that team in place, we'll get the folks together with the folks in the hills and get it going.
So the good news is that this is certainly, it's matriculated from concept
Yes,
to implementation.
Right.
Right, so it's
Right.
going to happen.
yes.
At what point do they need the commitment or the letters of authorization from the associations, giving them, come on in and
Right.
install whatever infrastructure you need?
Based on the discussions they had with us previously, they, I think, view the fall and winter as kind of the planning phase, and then they'd like shovels in the ground starting in early spring. So it's good timing from that perspective, because obviously the ground is about to freeze, so you can't dig anyway. So, but that being said, we got to make sure they get out there, because there's over 20 homeowner associations they got to go out and visit, because this is all in the devil's in the details, obviously.
Okay.
So we'll keep pushing on that, all right? New Jersey American Water, just a quick update on the Deer Haven Old Dutch project. The water main work in the neighborhood itself is done, but the connections on either side are not. So on one side, they're waiting for the state to grant the permit to go across 206, so they can connect on that side. On the other end, they need a directional drill to go under Peapack Road. So they're still waiting to get that scheduled. So once they get that done, then they can set up service. I know they're also coordinating with Hoff Plumbing for about a half dozen consumer side connections.
Oh, good, okay.
All right, so that's proceeding.
And that's on the, I assume that's going to be on the Deer Haven side
Yes.
for the homes that were still on wells, and now they have the opportunity.
To go-
or either the opportunity, or they always had the opportunity since there was a water line there.
Right,
Okay,
right.
got it.
So that's going on right now. Don't have an update on the Route 206 from, to Somerville, the Route 206 project, that's Somerville Road to Lamington Road. I know that construction has been proceeding, don't know if it's done, but I'll get an update on that and share it next time. And that's all I got.
Okay. And Doug, anything with Pluckman Park?
Nothing since our last meeting, Mayor.
And Robin, anything, have you heard anything?
No, not a peek.
Okay. All right, well, we will continue to keep this on our agenda, and hope that there's some action out there that benefits our residents. We do have an executive session, and we do not have a reso following executive session.
No.
We don't, right? So this is just for discussion
Discussion,
purposes?
yes.
No formal action being taken. So having said that, let's go through Township Committee comments, and then we'll adjourn to executive session, and then we'll come back and adjourn for the night. But once again, there will be no formal action following the executive session. Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. My only comment really is to congratulate you and Renee. I know how it is every year with elections and get down to the wire and things are said and things are put out there and it's very hard. And look, it's the game you sign up for, right? You're going to run for public office. People are going to say stuff, but it's at the end of the day, the votes count, and that's really all that matters. And job well done for both of you. So congratulations.
Thank you. Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, congratulations to you and Renee. Job well done. Very clean election. And also congratulations to Mayor-elect Jacobs. And, seriously, it's not about reading the room, it's about leading the room. And Mayor, you've done an exemplary job in that regard. So thank you both. We're lucky to have you both, and thank you for your continued dedication to the residents of Bedminster.
Thank you. Committeewoman Mareski.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to give a big thank you to everybody in Bedminster for trusting in us and electing us again. And I'm so happy to be working with you guys again, and thrilled that you're going to be mayor again.
Thank you.
You're crying.
Yep.
What else is
Not a
new?
meeting until I do.
That's right.
Committeewoman Fernandez.
Just piggybacking on the sentiments, everyone, congratulations. Your dedication to our town, your service goes noticed, and you can tell that by the number of votes you received. And just, keep on doing what you're doing. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. So, thank you once again for your support in the straw vote, and thank you to my running mate over there. Great job, Renee. And there's a lot to accomplish in this next year. So let's get to it. And part of that starts, excuse me, with our executive session, which hopefully in our next meeting results in a resolution. So with that, may we have a motion to adjourn to executive session? It is 8:01.
So moved.
Wow, second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Okay, let's go to executive session. Thank you, Chief. Amanda, you're going to get, well, we could just keep her.
Yeah, we could just keep her.
We could just keep her. There's only one person we have to ask to leave. That's Jake.
Thanksgiving.
You guys can
Happy
talk.
Thanksgiving. I forgot to say that in my comments.
You guys can talk, I don't know, Oklahoma football or something out there. Okay, it is 9:46. Township Committee is back from our executive session. As I indicated earlier, we were not taking any action following the executive session. However, there is one more item I just want to raise. It's my mistake for not pointing it out earlier. Our condolences go out to the family of our very own DPW employee, Kevin Sullivan, on the passing of his father, James Sullivan, who, James Sullivan also would be known as Mayor Sullivan and Committeeman Sullivan, because he served Bedminster Township as mayor in 1992 and was on Township Committee 1993, 94, and 95. So he was mayor for 2 years and on committee for a total of 4 years. So once again, our condolences go out to the entire Sullivan family, and we thank them for the service that James Sullivan gave to Bedminster Township. Nothing else on the agenda. May we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and good night.
Good night.
All right, Amanda,
Leaving
good
these in the
night.
books?